Okay, welcome to another edition of the show. Today we got Polyglot Pablo. How you doing today, bro?
I'm good, nice weather today, so I'm just chilling. How you doing?
Chilling, man. So we don't really know each other that well, but we sent some tweets back and forth in Spanish, and then you sent me some tweets in Portuguese, and I'm like, this dude is next level. So I had to bring you on the show. The purpose of my show is to get people to learn more languages.
Yeah.
Really, I only speak English and Spanish. I started learning a little bit of Portuguese, but I kind of just don't want to do it right now. But I always encourage other people to learn like any language that they can. So you're the perfect person to bring on here. Just want to talk about how you learn different languages, your processes, why people might want to learn an extra language, stuff like that. So let's start with how many languages do you speak?
So as it stands, I would say I have full mastery over five. They kind of flip and flop depending on, if I was recently in the country or not, this and that. But yeah, like 5 to 6, including Latin, which is a dead language. But if you had to put me down in front of a book right now, I'd still be good. So
So
yeah.
which languages do you have mastery over?
English, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, uh English, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, Latin, and then French I can understand for the most part. Not really at the reproductive phase right now. I just never had a mean to do that.
Mhm.
I mean, I come across francophones in New York like decently often, but just not that often. And also, when I was last in Paris, I just wasn't really a fan of the people. So I'm like, why am I gonna learn this? So yeah, those would I have like full mastery of right now. And then I lost all my Russian. I studied it for a summer with a bunch of like Russian students who were working here for the summer to make money. My Arabic is gone too. Like I'll go into bodegas and stuff, and I'll still like pick up what's going on.
Mhm.
Like I had like Saudi Arabian grad students when I was in college coming up to me being like, "Yo, do you have like an Arab parent or something? Like, there's no reason you should be, that good at it that quickly." And then yeah, and then I'm like learning Japanese now, so like not the greatest, but because of the amount of anime I watch, I always know kind of what's going on contextually. But like, if you ask me to repeat that, I'd be lost. So,
Yeah.
but
No,
yeah,
that makes
five
sense.
5 to 6 full mastery. Like, if you drop me off in Portugal, Italy, Spain, I'm good.
That's very impressive. So what's the time frame on these languages? What besides English, what language do you think you speak the best out of all those, even the ones that you master? Which one are you like, it's my
Yeah,
baby,
no,
second
Spanish
language?
for sure because I grew up speaking it. So
Oh, you
that's
you grew up speaking Spanish.
yeah, that's my co-native language. So I'd
Okay.
be I'd be considered what you call like a in the linguistic community, it's like a late L2 learner. So you learn your
Mm.
second native language before that 12-year mark where it's still considered a native speaker. So yeah, that's what I am with Spanish.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So then what followed after that? Portuguese?
Portuguese for sure. And then Italian, and then yeah, French would be my weakest of like modern active languages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess I want to talk about Portuguese then. What age did you learn Portuguese at?
So Portuguese, I guess formally I started learning. I had to be what, 20.
20.
I had a girlfriend when I was 19 who was from Angola. So she spoke Portuguese, and I could always like kind of pick up, the gist of what was going on. But I took a Portuguese class, and I was mad because I took like the beginner level, and I was bored out of my mind. I couldn't switch into like the advanced whatever one because yeah, I was the kid in class who was, raising their hand for every question to send it third. Because like I said, lexicographically, it's 90% the same as Spanish. It's
Right.
just the accents are a lot more different. So I completely get you. Even when I watch Portuguese TV, I'm kind of like, yeah, y'all sound kind of wild right now. But but yeah, so I'd say like 20. And then I couldn't even say it like a time frame because like I said, it's just so similar. You kind of like already knew it in a way. Um,
Yeah.
but I guess to the degree where like I could recall and like speak with Portuguese people, I don't know, like a month, 2 months maybe. Nah, 2 months,
2 months.
like a month, 6 weeks max. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, maybe I don't want to talk about Portuguese then. I want to talk about I want to talk about the first language that you had to put a real amount of work in, the equivalent to someone that only speaks English and maybe is picking up Spanish or something like
Okay.
that.
Oh yeah. So
Where
like a first true second language. So then I would say for me, um, I mean, this is gonna be a tough question because I'm naturally like just languages are kind of my thing to pick up. But I'd say
yeah.
Arabic would be the farthest from, or maybe Russian. Yeah, we'll do like Arabic and Russian because Arabic I studied more of, but Russian was more difficult, I would say, to pick up.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So okay, then like let's talk about the process. If someone is learning a language for the first time, and I know a Romance language is going to be different than something like Russian or Arabic or something like that. But if you're picking up a language, what are you going to tell someone in like the most simple terms? Like this is how you're going to learn a language in a good way, and not like take 5 years to speak it.
yeah. So I'll give, I guess, because I have a linguistics degree as well. So I'll give my personal experience as someone naturally gifted in language and then kind of a more scientific thing, which still corroborates what I'm saying anyway. So it is true, the age old adage of like immersion, that's your best way you're gonna learn. The reason like a French toddler speaks more French than you is because 24 hours a day they're conversing and interacting and living their life in French. Your 1 hour a day in class that you like pay half of attention for, you're not really going to pick up that much. So I always say to people, live your life in that language. So change your phone. That's easy. You already know how to use your iPhone or your Android without even looking at it anyway. So change your phone to that language. Start listening to music. Watch kid shows when you're starting out because obviously a kid doesn't have a huge vocabulary yet. So you get the basics down, you get the grammar structure, how that works. Then you can start watching Money Heist or, something like that, in a Spanish example. So what you kind of go through first is you learn the grammar because in formal language learning, you don't learn grammar from a book. You just copy what people do and know whether it's right or wrong. And it becomes a subconscious process versus you having to actively think about it. So you'll learn the grammar first subconsciously. And then from there, it's just vocab building. So it's like, oh, how do I say, chair versus TV versus, armrest, whatever the case may be. And then I think the hardest part for most people is decoupling the way you think in your native language, which is in this case English, from how you think in that language.
Mm-hmm.
A good example that I'll use like Spanish for is in Spanish, a lot is inflected already in the word. So you'll be, I saw. You in English, it's two separate words. Or in English, it would be like I saw it versus lavi, or like I saw her, or lobi, I saw him, whatever the case may be. So you can say a lot less in most other languages, at least the ones I've studied. You can say a lot less because things are kind of inflected in the word already. So I guess kind of thinking in a simpler way is probably my best advice to most people is you don't need to. English is a very detailed language. A lot of other languages are a lot more vague on a grammar sense. So kind of just take it slow and you'll realize, let me sound as natural as possible. So you'll start picking up the speech patterns of other people. I wouldn't say it like this. I would say it like that. Like that's how a Spanish speaker would say it versus, and it could apply to any language.
So for one, I didn't know you had a linguistics degree. So that's super dope. I kind of want to do that. Like I was thinking about doing something like that. I feel like this is my sign to do it. But
Yeah.
for
I mean,
two,
what I'll tell you is, I mean, I still have all my curriculum from when I was taking it. So I can just give you all the books and stuff that you need and you can save what I think I paid 48K a year when I was in. So
yeah, I'm not trying to do
yeah,
that.
so you could save all that or take like college community college classes or something. So I'll give that to you after the show.
That's cool. Yeah, I would love that. For two, I've made videos in the past about how I learned Spanish and like how I think is the best way to learn it. So to hear you say all of that stuff is like literally exactly what I tell people. But I have no like science or anything backing it up. I'm just like, bro, like you don't have to study a book. Just literally talk to people, say the stuff that they're saying. Like the same way I learned English, like that's how I learned Spanish. You know what I mean? And because of that, it's also like hard to help people when they're like, oh, like, how did you learn these conjugations? I'm like, I don't know, bro. Like, I just said what other people said, and like it's a pattern. Like, all the conjugations are the same for the regular verbs, for the irregular ones. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
on that same note, what do you think about applications like Duolingo and stuff like that? I have my own opinion, but I just want to know what you think.
Yeah. So personally, I'm not a fan. Duolingo is just a vocab learning app from like at least when I used it. I hear a lot of good things about Babbel. I haven't used it yet personally. When I was learning Russian though, because I'd graduated from college at that point, I had my Rosetta Stone like access still with my college ID. So I used that, and then I spoke with actual Russians. So some stuff was like, yeah, and then other stuff was like, yeah, you sound like a book when you say that. Like, this is a more natural way to say X, Y, and Z. I liked Rosetta Stone because it gave context. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't just juego versus jugué. It would be, in context. So you would see the past tense versus present versus future or stuff like that. So Rosetta Stone, in my opinion, was pretty good. Steve Kaufman, you might have heard of him. He's
I love that dude.
yeah, he's a hyper polyglot on YouTube. Who I tried his app Link, Linq.
Yeah.
I didn't really like get into it because he was trying to do that subscription thing, and I was like, yeah, I'm not the one for that. So I was good for that, but I would maybe recommend that because I mean him obviously, and he's a true hyper polyglot. He's like, hey, this is conversational. This is like, yes, I could live in this language. This is that. So he's not kind of capping in a way of like, oh yeah, I know 26 languages back and forth. I was actually just having a linguistic conversation when I was back in Chicago last week. True fluency where you can like, like super specific jargon words and things like that in a target language is most of the time you're not going to get to that level because it's just not necessary. There's the same 2,000 common words that you hear every day. That's like 76% of speech from most people, and at least in America, the reading level is what, 8th grade. So you don't even need to be that. You don't even need to have a super expensive vocabulary to get your point across. I think if you can live in another language, aka you could flirt with somebody, you could rent a car, buy some milk, rent an apartment, you're fine. That's all you need to do. And, some sort of social interaction as well. If it's like Japan, where like, yeah, you can't get away with speaking English. Like you need to know the language. But other than that, you don't need to be some superstar who knows every single thing in the language. But yeah, I would say Rosetta Stone over Duolingo for sure, and Link if you have the money and you really want to spend like things like $15 a month.
Yeah. Again, glad to hear you say that because, bro, like every time I do a YouTube live, people are like, "What's your what's your beef with Duolingo?" And I'm like, I don't have nothing against Duolingo, but like you said, like it's just vocab. You know what I mean? I've never met someone that only uses Duolingo and doesn't talk to real people that's fluent. You know what I'm saying? And like I remember there was dudes like on Twitter. I had made a thread about learning Spanish, and dudes were like, "I use Duolingo and blah blah blah." I'm like, well, let's have a conversation in Spanish. Like we can do it on my YouTube. Like I'm not gonna like try to talk like so fast that I confuse you or nothing like that. I just literally I want to see what level you achieved with only using Duolingo. None of those dudes would come on the show, bro. Like
Yeah.
I haven't met no one that's done it. I used Duolingo back in the day, before I really started having conversations, and the same thing happened to me, bro. I started talking to people, and I'm like, damn, I can't remember nothing, bro. I can't put no sentences together. Like,
I would say, I mean, this applies to kind of anything in life too. Don't speak like whatever the common popular thing is usually not the way you want to go. And
right,
everyone's like, oh yeah, I got an 857, day Duolingo streak. And it's like, that's cool, but you still speak, to the same level of a first grader. And you've been doing this for 2+ years. Obviously
yeah,
it's not working. But I think, well, another thing too with language learning is you'll always learn to speak last. So whoever's watching this, don't ever feel bad. It's just you're gonna have more input of people who know the language because you're listening and trying to learn. So that's always gonna supersede your ability to speak. And now speaking, that's like an internal thing. It's like you kind of have to shut your English brain off. So your inhibitors have to be developed to a certain degree where you're not saying stuff in English or whatever your native language is. And then also you can't be shy. Like
Mhm.
But one thing I will say though is in every other language that I've spoken or learned or said a sentence in, they're a lot more nice in helping you get there. If you come to America and you don't have perfect diction, they're like, nah, get out of here. Oh, what does that mean? They don't even try. And I'm thankful for that degree that I grew up speaking English and don't have to learn it now. If I could like do a wish, I would definitely want to see how it is learning English because we have a lot of homophones, homographs, homonyms. Like I can understand why people are confused, but
Yeah.
I think because of the prevalence of like social media and you just have a lot more resources to learn English in. I think Rich Brian, um, he learned English off of Twitter exclusively. So that's why he
Yeah.
sounds like a native New Yorker or wherever he's from.
Mhm.
Because you're talking like the people there talk. So yeah, just a little tidbit for you, language learners out there.
Yeah, no, that's interesting that you say that. Yeah, I do remember the phase where like I couldn't get out what I wanted to say, but I'm like, damn, I understand everything people are saying to me, but like I just can't, bro. My brain just like wouldn't let me speak Spanish. But yeah, no, that's big facts. What else? I wanted to know how many countries have you visited? You sound well traveled.
So let me think. England, Scotland, France, Spain, Mexico, St. Martin, um, Puerto Rico, on to Jamaica later this year, um, Aruba, and I think that's it. I think I'm gonna hit Portugal when I go to London in October. So like 11 countries, just about.
You had any bad experiences outside of America?
No, I've only had good experiences. I guess a little nicety of me speaking different languages. The number one benefit I've gotten, um, even within the United States, is free stuff.
Yeah,
So I remember I went to my East Coasters will know, or New Yorkers specifically, is Kennedy's Fried Chicken, which is it's like a ghetto chicken chain here, but is bussing no matter
yeah.
what time of day you eat it. So there's a JJ's Fish and Chicken, which is like the Chicago version, and the store owner was Palestinian. So I came in speaking a little bit of Arabic. This man tried to like introduce me to his daughter. He gave me hella free food, all this other stuff. When I went to where my college campus is, there's like a really expensive Italian restaurant that has a sister one in Chicago. And I spoke Italian to the dude, the owner's Italian. He hooked it up, taking money off our bill, stuff like that. So a lot more people, as I said, at least from other cultures, I can't say for America, they're a lot more welcoming when you try to meet them where they're at. You could speak terrible, whatever the language is, but the fact that you're trying, it brings kind of like a tear to their eye. I actually just went to liquor store the other day to get a bottle of wine. And the lady was Italian and she was so stunned. She was like, you speak perfect Italian. And I don't, and Italian Americans coming here don't even speak Italian. So um,
Mhm.
definitely just for that, just for that in general. And also there's a Chinese proverb, for each language it's another life you live. So for me, I'm already living like 6 to like 10. So, just keep things fresh and new. And you kind of understand the culture a little bit more as well, how the idioms are developed and how things make sense because I think it's the Sapir Whorf hypothesis. Does language influence culture? Does culture influence language? And that's kind of the battle that's always going on. You can make
Mhm.
cases for both, obviously, but that's kind of where you get things like that. So French, for example, a lot of depressing philosophers and stuff like that. So you look at people in Paris, you look at, they're kind of depressed and sad all the time, perfect examples. So,
Yeah.
oh, no
Yeah, yeah,
disrespect
yeah.
to the French.
That's no, that's real. That was a lot of information. I was gonna say definitely agree with the niceness of other cultures, like almost to the point that like I have to think real hard. I have to make sure I don't fall into this little trap, or at least when I was first learning, because I'll just be like, yo, there's no way I speak perfect Spanish. Like I just started, but like, bro, like I'm talking about like the most basic question. They say, oh, ¿cómo te llamas? And then you answer, and they're like, oh my God, he speaks such good Spanish. And like they go show you off to other people, like, yo, listen to him speak. And I'll be like, I said one word, bro. Like I
Yeah.
answered one question and so I started thinking like, damn, like every person that's ever told me I speak great Spanish, like, was it true or were they just super nice? You know what I'm saying? And so, but no, that's 100% true. I've definitely gotten a lot of free stuff, but also, I made a lot of friends. Like you said, when you speak someone else's language, like it's kind of like an automatic bond that kind of happens. Like they get real happy and they like want to make a connection. Like I really seen people go from cold to like wanting to be my friend like instantly just because I spoke Spanish. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. I don't know if there's a lot of Latinos out there in Seattle, but at least in the Latin community, because I'm Latin on my mom's side, um, I guess like chisme would be like the best way to put it. But yeah, you come, especially as a Afro Latino, you walk into a spot, they just think, you're normal, American black, or, at least not
mm-hmm.
Latin black. The second you say like tengo un buen día, something simple,
Mm-hmm.
everything flips. Oh, my friend, here's a discount. They usually shit talk you too. So
Yeah,
it's usually like, oh, they know now, but they know your gang, so they're like, okay, cool.
facts.
But I'm sure every culture does that. I have Asian friends. They tell me all the time, like, because my friend group we got somebody from every corner of the world, so they'll tell me like, oh yeah, they were talking crap about one of our other friends, or they weren't, or whatever the case may be. So no slight against my Latino friends or whatever and family,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just a phenomenon everyone participates in.
Yeah, I think that's pretty normal. I was gonna say something about you made a comment about uh culture and language influencing each other. And you were talking about French having depressing words. What do you think about the other languages that you speak? What do you think about the feelings of Spanish or the feelings of Arabic or whatever?
Yeah. So Arabic, the piousness of the people makes a lot of sense because a lot of words have Allah as a suffix. So through the grace of, by the will of, with the love of, the redeemed
Subhanallah,
one.
alhamdulillah.
Yeah, exactly. So very pious people. Pretty much every Arab person I've ever come across. Um, yeah, just very hospitable, always open arms. They're offering you stuff all the time. I like that you can haggle in the culture. We don't really have that here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
So, you see some crazy price. I'm like, no, 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 I'll give you this because this is reasonable. I think we need to develop that more in the States. But Brazil, yeah, even the accent, it's very sing-songy, it's fun, it's lively, it's vibrant. So same thing for the people. I don't think I've ever met a sad Brazilian personally. Um,
Mm.
and then Spanish, I think, is like, I guess for lack of a better word, is kind of like a not schizophrenic, but like you can be anything in Spanish. You could be, deep and intense like Pablo Neruda, or you could be, vibrant, you could be recluse, you could be especially Spanish TV shows, if you watch enough of them, like novellas or something like that. There's always a character that can like depict every sort of emotion in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, yeah, Spanish is very useful. You just have a bunch of different characters in Spanish. Russian, I didn't really get enough of a mastery of to like tell, but it's a tough, gritty language. And I mean, Russia's not the nicest climate either. So it
Right.
kind of makes sense. And then what else? Yeah, I think that's it. Japan, same thing. Um, it's a bit of a tonal language. Depending on your tone, you have different I guess meanings or intendances of the words and stuff like that. So also kind of a very versatile language in that you could be a myriad of things, and just depending on your tone, it kind of conveys that. So yeah.
That's dope, man. So I think most of the people on my channel are Spanish learners. There's been a few that have told me like one dude told me he's learning like Finnish and
Good luck to
someone else.
him.
Yeah, but
Yeah, Finnish
his
is
family, like his ancestors are from Finland and like
oh, okay.
something like that. So he's trying to reconnect, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah, and there's been a handful of other languages, but most people are learning Spanish. So you got some shows that you'll recommend, or just what shows do you like?
Um, in Spanish. I would say Money Heist. I forgot what the Spanish title is. They do
It's
that.
like La Casa de Papel or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. With Spanish titles, they always make it like some weird translation. It's like
Yeah,
never.
it's never the same, bro.
Club de Cuervos. It's like a soccer show.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good. Cristina. She's a very notable. It's like Judge Mathis, but Latin version.
Yeah.
She's very notable in the Latin community. La Factoria. It's a
Mhm.
YouTube series. It's The Office, but in Spanish, and it's Dominican Spanish.
Oh,
So
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah, so I think that'd be good just to get a little bit more variance in the accents and stuff like that, because Caribbean Spanish, and I can say as myself included as a Cuban, way different than most of the other Spanish you're gonna learn. Mexican Spanish, Colombian, wherever else, their accents are a lot more level. So
Yeah.
Colombia, for example, is known as like the accent that's the easiest to learn. It's easiest to pick up because it's not very quick. It's not too slow. It's like right in the middle. Whereas Cuban, Dominican, Puerto Rican Spanish, we have lots of slang,
Mm-hmm.
very quick. If you're not part of the culture, yeah, it's going to be just a little bit more difficult. So I think that'd be good to just get some variants. And afterwards, they might have transcripts for the show. You can kind of look up and see like, oh,
Yeah.
and the third. Um, Other Spanish TV shows. Fermat's Room is a movie. It's an indie movie. It came out in like 2006 or something. Um, that's another good one. Yeah, I think those are the only ones I can think of off the top of my head right now. Um,
Okay.
oh, and crap. I'll text it to you after. It's not La Burbuja. Yeah, it has
What's it about?
it's a guy. He's on a cruise ship and I think he's dying, but he's like really rich from like the lottery or something. It was a Netflix original movie. Um,
Hmm.
Francisco's Palermo on Money Heist is in it. Um,
Hmm.
and he's like the master of ceremonies in it, whatever. Oh no, it's called Yucatan on
Hmm.
on Netflix. That's another good movie to watch as well. And yeah, very muted accents. There's some Argentine accents in there, but that's nothing too crazy. Um, yeah, so I'd say those movies and shows are probably pretty good. Lots of like violence and and guns and stuff, but I guess if you're ever in a situation where you need to be threatening, you'll have some vocab for it.
Cool. So you got a lot of quotes. Do you read a lot of books or not?
Um, I'm starting to pick it up more. If my mom was on this video, she would tell you she cried day and night when I was younger to try and get me to read. But now I'm kind of getting more into it. I think I can just sit down a little bit better. And I've been starting to use like audiobooks and stuff more. So um yeah, I used to be a book full of quotes. So that
Yeah.
kind of helps with a lot of things.
So these audiobooks are in English or in Spanish?
So I don't really read in Spanish. My phone default is always in Spanish, so
Yeah.
I kind of do that naturally from just whatever I'm searching up. My
Yeah.
phone's in French now, so all the articles and stuff come up in French. Um, so yeah, I don't explicitly read in Spanish because just all my apps and stuff and whatnot are already in Spanish. Twitter is kind of annoying though because I'll be trying to look for like future and then futuro comes up or somebody else. Uh,
Bro,
so
no lie, that is actually the thing that made me switch my phone back to English because I think Twitter is the only app that does it. If your phone is in that language, then it's gonna pull up stuff from regions where
yeah,
that language is spoken. And I'll be like, bro, I'm trying to see like the trending topic here, bro. I'm trying to
yeah.
see what happened at this concert where people got ran over or something. They showing me Argentina, bro. I'm like, what
Yeah,
is
well, I
this?
will say though, if you don't mind that, it is a good tool. Having tweets from people so you get all the slang, all the short language, the abbreviations they use, PQ instead of porque, stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I think, yeah, it's definitely good for that. But yeah, if you're trying to find, relevant stuff in English, good luck.
Yeah. No, that's a tough one. But it's also the opposite too. Sometimes because my phone is in English, I'll be talking to my bro from Colombia and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, did you see like what happened in Cali, blah blah blah, in Cali, Colombia?" And then I'll be like, "Nah, let me look it up real fast," and I'll type it in Spanish, and it just gives me like articles from the United States, and I'm like, "Bro, this not what I typed at all, bro."
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah,
it.
we'll talk to Elon about that. Also the Twitter translator is kind of okay sometimes too.
Yeah,
Google,
it's actually straight. Yeah,
yeah,
it's decent.
Google Translate definitely has gotten better over the years, I would say. And also you got to know how to use it. You know, knowing to if you're looking for a singular word like a noun, you need to know the noun form of it versus just like the infinitive because yeah, you're not gonna
Mhm.
necessarily get it. So that's more of like a you need to know the language grammar at least to a certain degree. But yeah, no, it's not bad on Twitter. And I've seen people have full on conversations in French and English and Arabic and Romanian, whatever. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah. I think French is like the only one where sometimes I hit the translate and I'm like, this can't be right, bro. Like,
Yeah.
there, I don't
Well, I
know what it
know at
is.
least on Montreal Twitter, they be saying like one letter for entire words because I guess they're smaller linguistic French community. They just know what's going on, obviously, because I guess it's like everyone knows everyone. Because I'm trying to
Yeah.
keep it too, and I'm like, I even understand what I'm reading, but I'm like, it's just an A with an accent. Like I don't know what to do here. So
Bro, one day I got so mad, bro, because like I had tweeted something that had got like a lot of reach, and they just kept putting MDRRRRRR on there, and I'm like, bro, somebody needs to tell me what this means because it's pissing
yeah,
me off, dog. Like,
no MDR. I still see a lot. I have a friend who's in Canada actually, so I always ask her, and she was like, "Oh yeah, it's this." So that's another reason you should learn languages. Always have a friend in other places because
that's
they
facts.
can they can hook you up, and also even traveling. Like when I'm going to England, for example, I mean she's basically my little sister. She's my best friend's cousin. So I've known her since she was younger. But I know people in a bunch of different places, so I just got to pay for a plane ticket and accommodation, which is actually the more expensive part of traveling.
Yeah,
Um, you kind of cut that out. So you never know who you're ever gonna need. And this world is very big, so get
facts,
as friends as you can.
facts. Oh, damn, bro. I think we covered a lot. Is there anything that you think we didn't touch on that we should touch on as far as linguistics and languages and all of that stuff?
Um, Nah, I mean, I think we hit the nail on the head. I mean, language learning is pretty simple. It's the same thing with losing weight or going to the gym or whatever you're trying to do. It's just consistency. And with language learning, it's even easier because it's all subconscious. Change
Yeah.
your phone to Spanish, stop listening to Drake and listen to um, Romeo Santos instead.
Yeah.
Watch TV. YouTube is even better because it's more specific. Like if you like sports, you can find a bunch of sportscasts in Spanish with Spanish announcers.
Mm-hmm.
To watch TV shows, you can watch vlogs about any topic in that. So you can make it entertaining too and interesting for yourself while you're learning the other language. So yeah, I would say it's pretty good. The only thing I would say, the only caveat with that is make sure if it's something pertinent to your life that you need to know in English, make sure you know it in English too. So for example, I was using Amazon Web Services once and my laptop was in Portuguese. So I learned all these things in Portuguese, like all this specific language and things like that. But then I was
Mm,
trying to look for it in English and I was like, I don't know what this means. I know what it means in Portuguese.
mm.
I would say, just if you don't do it on the job or something, like make sure it's, useful life stuff. But other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it. I have a newsletter coming out soon, talking about different linguistic topics, language learning, stuff like that. I don't have a name for it yet. So I'll keep you updated with that. But Twitter is RIZOSTYX. So keep that in mind for updates. And then yeah, I mean you'll see me on the timeline. So that's pretty much
Yeah,
it.
I'll put your Twitter handle in the description just in case they don't hear it in the video for some reason. But anything else you want to say to the people before we get off of here, bro? Somebody that's learning a language right now, it's the last thing they're gonna hear from you.
Yeah, I'm always good for being a pen pal. So if you need help, you can just reach out to me directly. I'll only respond in Spanish. This way, it forces you to whatever you got to do. And any other language you're trying to learn, if I know it, I'll definitely be a good resource for you. And you know, best of luck. Hopefully we'll see you in Colombia. I guess that's the popping spot right now. So see you in
Yeah,
Colombia.
that's what I've heard. I heard it's the popping spot right now.
Yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming on here, bro. I'm about to take a nap. So
Yeah,
peace.
no, I feel you. No, I appreciate the invite.
Yeah. Have a good day, bro. Appreciate you.
Yeah. All right, take care.